I got to click. Got it.
And say hello.
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 Hello. Welcome.
You guys are all nuts.
We're talking about nipples, right? Something
Yeah.
Right,
about nipples.
exactly. Nipples are life. Nipples are not nuts. But no, we're talking about what were we talking about?
Sexual trauma.
trauma.
Trauma? You mean trauma?
Both sides of it.
Trauma.
Trauma. We say trauma.
Trauma,
You say trauma?
not trauma.
Trauma.
It's like tomato and tomato.
Trauma. Don't make me pull out my British.
Everything. you don't pull out your Dick Van Dyke.
Hello, Governor. Hello,
Double
Governor.
entendre
Hello,
there.
Ducky.
Oh, wait, I've put my finger out.
Chippo. Hello, Governor. Ducky.
Hello, Governor. Hello.
Ducky.
We're obviously talking about sexual trauma.
Oh, God.
We're not really talking about sexual trauma. We're really talking about the addiction to the misuse of the miracle impulse.
Yeah.
It's like there's no real trauma in anything. I mean, everything in the world, like the idea of the world as a whole idea of trauma in itself, is the total package of denial that anyone need ever to really look at to heal all of it across the board, right? But as human beings, because we have this idea of relationships with things, we like to break things down into simple little understandable components that we can kind of poke at with our pointy brains. And one of those is sexual, I won't call it trauma, but let's just call it the whole sexual energy, whether you feel that you're using it appropriately or inappropriately, or whether you've been exposed to it appropriately or inappropriately, it doesn't matter. Both sides of the coin is still the same coin, and we need to look at the whole coin, not which side we think we prefer and which side seems to have an impact on us one way or the other. The whole idea that I think I can get anything out of sex as a act, whether that's pleasurable or not pleasurable, doesn't matter. It's just the fact that I still have it there as a value in my mind in any regard. Like eventually the time comes when you have to transcend all interests in that subject, right? Because you're giving up the world in its entirety. Sex is part of the world, same as anything else is part of the world. Doesn't matter whether you had sexual trauma or whether you have trauma from like guys that go to Afghanistan or whatever, and they come back and they've got post-traumatic PTSD or whatever. All of that is inclusive of the trauma, or the, I don't even want to call it trauma, I want to call it the fucking up, the total head fuck of the world. Right? But we tend to identify things. So it's helpful to identify things because we're looking at our loops. We're looking at our cycles, right? Now, sexual trauma is one that is both maybe helpful if it's repetitive, but if it's trauma that just came from a single incident long ago, it's hardly going to be helpful, because that trauma, which is represented by, oh, this is my karma coming back to me, which it is, it cannot not be because cause and effect are never separate, right? Then if it was just a single incident, chances are, more than not, it's going to change its form as it comes around again and again and again. So we were talking about, who was that guy you said he was a pedophile and you went to his concert?
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly. So, right, so
I
married a 16-year-old girl or 15-year-old girl or something. I've never heard of this person. I'm going to have to Google him.
15. Is
his music any good at least?
We loved it.
What is it?
You do
like
know his song. You I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. That guy.
I love that song.
Yeah. Little bump and grind.
Man. I'm still going to sing it. I believe I can soar.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so just using him as an example, since we were talking about him, like if he married a 15-year-old girl, say, then chances are he didn't just meet her at the age of 15 and then decide I'm going to marry you, whatever. There must have been some preamble to that over X amount of years or whatever. And whether they had sex, and I don't know how old he was at the time or anything like that. But so let's say that manifested for her later on as a trauma, as something that became, she started to grow more self-aware and realized, hey, that wasn't really that cool. You know, like there was this whole thing going on. That guy's in jail. So, you know, like whatever the retribution that she feels or the justice she feels regarding us doesn't really matter. But the fact that she was even in that situation in the first place, right? That situation, like you said, he got locked up for 100 years. It can't perpetuate itself in her life in the same way. It's going to change form.
She died.
She died?
In a plane crash.
Oh, that's a tragic change of form. But
you know who she is too. Anyway.
Who the hell is who?
Aaliyah. Oh, she was in that movie with Jet Li.
Oh, she was there.
I know Jet.
I know. I like. Yeah, she had that.
Yeah.
She was a Dracula. She was playing like. Yeah.
You have a shirt of her?
She's dope. Yeah, we all do. We all do. Her and Lauryn Hill, you know. Yeah.
Where have I been?
Then.
Where have I been in this world? I don't even know that person. I don't even know that person, and you have a freaking T-shirt of them.
You know who she is. Kim Kardashian, I think, was her on Halloween, this past Halloween, because she's like iconic.
I don't know Kardashian. I've heard the name, but I don't know them.
Yeah. Anyway,
you got to remember, I live in a country that's upside down on the planet, like we're way down here. I know there are probably teenage girls who know all that shit you're talking about, but I have no clue.
No, they're not teenage girls.
Whatever.
They do know her because she's iconic. We all love her.
Yeah, and there's another whole teaching, but
never ends.
It never ends, right? So it never ends. But it's like a lesson repeats again and again and again. Now, if you see things as trauma, if you see something as a cause of being upset, it's because you haven't learnt the lesson that's contained there. The lesson is never physical. It's always metaphysical, although it's going to be presented in a physical form. In this world, those physical forms can be tragic, right? People do get sent off to war and have their legs and arms blown off and their heads blown off and shit like that. People do get raped. There is a slave trade that still exists to this day in the Middle East where people are still being bartered and you know, like it's freaking, don't underestimate the mind in denial, right? The transaction or the interaction and the relationships in form are always going to take some kind of manifest, I don't want to say reality, but some kind of manifest shape and tangibility to them so that you can identify it, right? Because the one thing you're learning is that you're getting the results of your own thinking. There's not someone out there touching up little girls. There's not somebody out there launching a bomb, blowing people up. There's me getting the results of my own thinking. That's it. You know, it's like, and the funny thing is, I mean, you look at how the social stage is changing these days in the world with wokeism and all this sort of stuff going on. And it's like, but it's no different to what's happened in the world over past generations again and again and again. It's always changing. The nature of the world is constant change through the spectrum of insanity, right? Through the spectrum of denial. It's like, don't ever expect that anything in this world is going to look like normal or somehow kind of sane. It's like I'm always just a traveler passing through, trying not to get too distracted by the crazy shit going on over there that I think I once would have liked to participate in, or the stuff over there that I think I wish I never want to participate in. Right? I don't want any of it. I don't want the good ideas about sex or the bad ideas about sex. It's like I'm transcending those ideas. So in the relationship of those ideas, it's no accident, Bernadette, that you're in some kind of class or whatever it is that you're in, looking at that idea of whatever that is for you in sex, right? It's perfectly reasonable because you've got a lot of sexual energy, what people would call sexual energy going on, and it has to be transformed. And to transform it, you kind of have to look at it and have to dissect it and open it up and allow it to affect you. Like you've got to be defenseless and vulnerable in the face of whatever seems to be being presented, so you can get to your core, so you can get to your base with it. It's like the idea of like Kundalini energy, you know, in the chakras and things like that. I don't like the chakras. They're a terrible way of trying to describe the awakening process. And in fact, they actually deny it. But as a useful throwaway, that base chakra is like the survival instinct, which is that instinct to procreate, that instinct to multiply and to you know, but it can also be very corrupted, because in this world, the opportunities and the potential for that are dependent upon so many factors: finding the right partner, having someone who you feel reciprocates what it is that your impressions of that energy are all about. You know, it's like when I lived in Byron Bay, there was classes set up for tantric sex, right? Where people would pay, it was like $800 for one night or something, and you would go along as a couple, and you would be naked in a room with all these other couples, and you would be practicing this breathing, pranic breathing, and doing this whole non-touching sexual climatic whole process as an idea of coming together in some sort of mutual agreement about what that should be, which is simply an attempt to control the nature of an uncontrollable environment. It's like the world is a volcano. The world is something that is unpredictable and offers no safety and no hope and no trust and all of this sort of stuff. And within it, we fall into these traps of trying to organize ourselves into agreements to join on a level that really has no foundation for compatibility at all. You know, the only place we can truly join is in the light, is in true communication, is in our higher mind, a realm or a level above the physical one. And yet the physical one, we have to wipe our feet of it in order to do that. And in wiping our feet of it, unless we are using our relationships and our ideas and our energetic footprint, let's say, as an opportunity to step up on that ladder, then all we're doing is perpetuating ideas that are attempting to maintain some kind of arrangement within a completely unarranged situation. You know, it's like you can't jump into a river and tell the river that, well, I'm practicing tantric swimming now, so no rapids, please. You know, no rapids, no sudden bends in the river. I would just like to have this nice Zen sort of experience of, you know, you can't do that. It's like you come to the world and it's like, because you come from an organized place or a singular reality, there's this, and it's way back in the back of the mind, there's this sense of things where you feel the changelessness or the flow of your true eternal reality, but that gets corrupted, right? That gets corrupted. The impulse of that gets corrupted in wanting to try and replicate that here on earth. You can't. You're a tourist. You're passing through. You're traveling through. Stop trying to make it all fit. Stop trying to make your tantra and your prana and your everything else into some kind of perfect expression of self that you want to define as being spiritual, and just fall into a fucking screaming heap. Yeah. You know, can't
so
do
that's your idea. This is how we have sex. We're just gonna have
right.
It's like Klingons. We're gonna have it up.
You look at
my idea of sex. Maybe my idea of sex is just like beating each other's up. You know, I don't know. It's like raw. Maybe
exactly.
It's raw.
Exactly. So and it gets right back to that idea of trauma then. What is the trauma? Right? The trauma has nothing to do with the meeting of ideas. It has to do with the effects of those ideas. It has to do with, I'm getting the results of my thinking. My thinking is traumatic, right? Because I'm trying to control my environment, or trying to decide within my environment what I think is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And by those two definitions, I call the results of one acceptability or my unacceptability, one is successful, let's say, and the other one's traumatic. And I tell myself that I suffer under a traumatic precipice or a traumatic auspices, and under a successful one, I'm triumphant and vigilant and hooray, I got it right finally. But neither of those two perspectives has anything to do with my reality. They're just more distractions. Right? Sex is a distraction. It's like Jesus says in the Course, it's like it's a misguided miracle impulse. If your purpose is truly to learn to become miracle-minded, then you have to include everything into that, sex included. So, but sex tends to be like pretty much one of the last things that anyone wants to look at as an idea of transcendence or an idea of letting it go, because it seems to offer some little shred of pleasure and fulfillment here in a place where everything else seems to want to rip that away. It's one of those last things. That's the reason my whole marriage fell apart, was because I transcended that need for sex or for physical pleasure or physical fulfillment, and Rosie still wanted to go on with it. And one of the things she told me was, she said she still wants sex, and it's like, well, I can go through the motions, but there's no honesty there. There's no integrity. So, I can make a baby still, but it's like, what's the point in faking it? We're not here to fake it. We're here to be authentic. We're here to be true to ourselves and to be where we're at with stuff. One of the things that still happens for me now is, and this is from the reverse, right? So we're talking about both sides of the things. It's like there's a declaration there that I'm making, or that I'm putting out into the world, that I'm done with participating in the world in that way. And it seems to be that it's attracting to me, like my denial of it or my release of it is attracting to me. There's like a void there that I still entertain, I guess, that void. And it's attracting to me all these kinds of situations where if I wanted to, I could act on the misguided miracle impulse and have sex. But when I look at it honestly, there's nothing left. What would I do? How would I even do that? I don't know what the bits are for anymore. They're just, on the physical plane. And on the emotional and intimate plane, well, I don't have a need for that, because my emotionality and my intimacy with life in general comes from within me, from a singular place of contact that I've reawakened or rekindled through meditation and prayer. For most people, that seems to be something that, it's like, man, that's like a, remember when Evel Knievel jumped over the, what do you call that thing? The Grand Canyon on a motorcycle. It seems to be a span that's almost like that. He broke nearly every bone in his body trying to do it. Or was it a rocket? I think he went over on a rocket or something.
Yeah, it's a rocket, yes.
Yeah. But like from a place where you're heavily invested in the corruption of miracle impulses, to a place where finally you're learning to collaborate with them and to work with them for their highest ultimate purpose. It seems to be a span of, how do I get from where I am now to over here? But it's exactly the same thing, right? It has to be miraculous. Through prayer, through asking, I have no use for this, and realizing how false you are in that. I'm asking for the release of my mind from its addiction to corrupting the miracle in favor of physical gratification. I've chosen to follow Jesus. I've chosen to be a miracle worker. I've chosen to say yes to my Father. And at some point, I have to lay aside this vessel. I can't do that whilst I still have an attachment to its use for some reason or other, you know. And within that, all impulses, all inner callings, if you like, all these sort of inner prompts for healing and as a healer and everything, fall into the same basket, right? And you'll come up against your cycles again and again and again, which is why sex seems to be, right? So there's no order of difficulty in miracles, but sex seems to be a huge package.
Oh, yes. I was going to say that just a question, something that you just said. So meaning is that you still find use for it is even if it's in a traumatic way, right? So meaning is it like
right.
whether that you want it or not wanted, the not wanting
right.
of the past event of whatever happened back then, I still obviously want it, right? It's still useful.
Right.
Okay.
Of course. But you could want it in many different ways. A lot of people will self-sabotage themselves in all manner of ways, right? The addiction or the compulsion is to maintain the identity, right? Not the particulars of how you do that, right? So the compulsion is the maintenance of my identity in separation, whether I use sex to do that, whether I use inappropriate sex to do that or appropriate sex to do that, whether I use drugs and alcohol to do that, whether I use overeating, superficial relationship, anything in the world, anything, right? But because we have a hierarchy here of in the world, we have a hierarchy of things where we kind of like collectively establish that some things are more egregious than others and other things are more prominent, you know, in their worth and everything. We have this sort of sliding scale, and the sliding scale, it goes up and down according to social demographics, right? It's like back in the days of Romeo and Juliet, people were getting married and having kids at the age of 12 and 13.
Yes.
They only lived to about 30, 40 years old, you know, most of them. They used to get the pox and every other goddamn thing and herpes and wipe them out. And possum sperm, who would have known?
Yeah. No wonder it's the number one miracle, right? Like, there's no order of difficulties. No wonder that's the number one.
Right. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. Right. So whatever you're looking at, but look at it where it is, right? It can just as easily change tomorrow. The ego is very tenacious and it will bring you all sorts of distractions so that you can justify not looking at what it is that seems to be provoking you, right? It's only ever going to be your own thoughts about something that you think is provoking you, but don't let yourself off the hook, right? So whatever this class is you're doing and you're looking at sexual trauma, childhood trauma, or adult trauma, or any kind of, I mean, people get raped and sexually abused at any age in life, you know, but men and women. Don't be afraid to look at it like where it is, right? Whatever this thing is that you're doing, involving with it, obviously it's a process. If you can see it as part of salvation, then it simply becomes a process of being able to look at it. And like when we started this thing, you had some kind of emotional, like, whew, it's heavy, right? You're looking at this heavy thing. Good. The heavy is what you want. It's not the thing. The thing is just the set. The thing is just the stage for you to look at where that heaviness is in you. It's the heaviness that you want to get to the bottom of. That's a good thing. It's healthy, right? It doesn't matter what the form that takes that it's presented in that stirs that up. You know? It could be like studying brain surgery and, you know, like students, and they're like, oh man, this is heavy going. And it's like, and it takes you to that place where, and you just want to dump, you know, you just want to dump and vent and all of this stuff and all this emotional thing. So it doesn't matter what the form it's packaged in. The fact that to you it's becoming this kind of heavy, or I forget your exact words, but you can did we rewind? I don't think we recorded that little bit.
No, I said it's heavy because it's just like,
yeah, heavy.
It's bringing up a lot of stuff in everybody. Like we're talking
Good.
about like I brought it up. I said, okay, so we go around. If you still get triggered by like somebody who's touching kids, right? Like you still have something to deal with. Like we all have something, right, with sex. I don't care whatever that you know.
Yeah.
You deny
But
it from yourself.
It's
gonna
not the,
come
it's
some
not the
ways.
something that you're dealing with. It's not the something that you're dealing with, because the something always changes. If it's not this, it'll be something that. It's how it makes you feel.
Okay.
Right? It's like if we put you into a different environment in a different country with different social standards and whatever, that same situation may not make you feel the same way. Like in ancient Greece, they used to take the children when they reached puberty with the grandparents up to Mount whatever it was to have sex with the grandparents as a way of teaching kids about sex. I mean, nowadays we look at that, and Greek people probably look at that and go, what the fuck? What, like, you know? But back then it was perfectly normal. You know, nobody would have said this is traumatizing to the kids because it was their culture. You see what I'm saying? But now we have this whole thing of whatever it is that we're doing with the kids, with our spouses, with our international neighbors, with anything. Everything's a relationship, right? But it's what it brings up in you, right? We're here to dig down into our denial, to find our denial, and somewhere within each of us is a parcel of discomfort, a parcel of heavy energy, a parcel of dark, horrific awfulness. Right? I don't know how to give it a name because it's like it's nameless, but it's just, we'll just call it denial, right? That's what we want to bring up. So when you say to me, oh, it's heavy, it's all this and all that, don't worry about the all this and all that. Stay where it's heavy. It's the emotionality of it that you're here to look for, not the particulars of the things that brings that up, right? It's like somebody stuck down a hole, down a you know, like a mining, when a mine collapses or whatever, and the people are stuck underneath and the rescuers on top are trying to dig them out. It doesn't matter how they dig them out. What matters is that they get them out, right? Whether they use a little shovel or a big shovel or pink ropes or blue ropes, the particulars doesn't matter. What matters is getting those guys out.
Yes.
Right? So for you, the particulars of how it's framed or how it's packaged, in order for you to realize that you've got a couple of guys stuck down deep inside that want to get out, right? You've got, let's say you've got two miners stuck in you and they feel like they're in your gut somewhere. And if you're really honest, you'll feel like they're right down near your pelvis, right? There'll be this horrible cramping kind of like energy there. And that's your kundalini, for want of a better way to talk about it. The idea of sexual abuse and whatever is just the means by which you get down there. It could just as easily be war. It could just as easily be famine or natural disaster or anything to make you feel a certain way, to put you in touch with how you feel, right? Because on the surface, it's easy. Oh, I feel great. I'm having a great day. I'm going to go and see my friends for coffee and blah, blah, blah. And I've got a T-shirt with my favorite people on it and all these sorts of things. But deep down, what do you feel? Right? Where is the darkness inside? It's like Jesus says, you have these like these secret coveted thoughts and these things. That's what we're here to do. We're here to go right down into the dark, right down and expose what's there and bring it up for healing. Right? Here, Father, look at this with me. Anna, same thing. Right? Tina, same thing. The surface and the particulars of what's on the surface, the pink rope or the blue, that doesn't matter. Just use the goddamn rope for what it's for, right? Use it to get to the guys that are stuck down in that mining collapse and pull them out.
So
right?
you just said something was, what is this for? Because even like going through my past, right? Going into some of those dark areas that what you talked about, right? And some of those past memories that I believe something sticky back there, right? Keep pulling me back there, right?
Right.
It's just
Right.
like I open up to Holy Self about all the bullshit that I feel, okay? That is pulling, it has happened or has happened. And then I ask him, what the fuck is this for? Now what? I don't know what it's for. I just give it over and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, give it over. Give it to the Holy Spirit in prayer. It doesn't matter what it's for. Ready? We're past that now. We've already made a decision for salvation. Everything is for salvation. Right? That's what it's for. If you're looking for a reason why something happened in the past as if it could teach you something now, it can't.
No, I don't care about it. I just want to know why the hell is it still here?
Because you want it there.
Well, I know that, but
right. Now stay there. You still want it. Because somewhere in you it validates something. Mm-hmm. It validates the story, it validates the identity. And it's like, on one hand, you're saying, yes, Jesus, I want salvation. And on the other hand, you're still saying, well, I'm not sure about that. I still kind of like this identity-based life. And maybe I still want this as well. You know, that's all that anyone's ever doing is they're looking at that. Choose again, choose again, choose again. Every time something comes up, you can't be forced into salvation. You have to choose it for yourself. It's like today.
Yeah, but don't you agree with that, or at least like maybe you can explain that better? But if I'm unconsciously choosing it because I'm unconsciously choosing it, right? That's because there's something there I'm still hiding. I must be fucking hiding it from myself. Right. Or from God. I'm still hiding it because otherwise I will not be fucking in the shadow. I'm still in the shadow because I'm hiding. Yes.
You're hiding from yourself. The one thing you're afraid to do is love yourself completely. Love yourself unconditionally. And you'll use anything to maintain that fear.
Are you saying I have to love that shitty side of myself, kind of, sort of?
Not love it, but you have to accept it, include it in, right? You can't love an illusion because there's nothing there to love. It's just it's the past, it's gone, all that stuff, including what's presented now. You can't actually love it. It's like I used to hang around when I was living in Byron Bay, right? Very spiritual. It's like your Mount Shasta, I guess, in America or whatever, but lots of spiritual people wandering around like you have to honor this and honor that. And it's like, oh man, it's just like, give it a rest, like just drop it. And that's what you have to do. You have to drop it. You can't honor it, right? You can't love it. You can't respect it or whatever. You can be grateful for the people that played their parts for you in that. And
that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah.
Right. In your honest gratitude, you release them from having to play that part again in a different form or a different way at a different time on another loop as it comes around again. Right. And in fact, the only way that you can ever be certain that you've learnt the lesson is by your own awareness of your actual authentic honesty and gratitude to them. So, wow, thanks for playing that part for me. You just showed me something that's been buried deep inside for a long time. You brought it up. I didn't like how that played out, but thank God it's been brought to light now.
That I do. I like that makes. Thank you.
Right, exactly. It's like those who become your aggressors and your tormentors actually are your liberators.
Yeah.
You got to remember, you're not a body. Whether you've suffered sexual trauma or violent trauma or war trauma or any kind of anything, right? You've never actually suffered anything. You're always at home, perfect in heaven with God, in eternity, one with God. And this is just a dreaming of that. But to escape the dreaming, you have to include everything in. I'm responsible for the world I see. I'm responsible for the experiences that have happened to me because I'm the dreamer of my dream, finger on my nose. If I don't like it, who's the only one that can do something about it? Me. And the only thing I can do is change my mind about how I want to see it. It's either going to be useful to me or it's going to be not useful to me. If it's not useful to me, that's still being useful to me, but for a different purpose. Right? To maintain denial. When it's useful for me, when it's truly useful for me, then I'm grateful to everyone, all the cast and crew that helped put that act together and play that out, and look at me with my poor broken body and my sexual abused and my physical traumas and mental traumas and emotional trauma, whatever. You know, look at me, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Well, finally, we're tired of playing that game of being the victim. It's like, no, hang on a minute. I chose to come to a world where anything could happen to me. How can I possibly be a victim? I bought a ticket to Planet Cuckoo Land, and when I got here, shit started happening to me. And within the framework where the shit happens, I'm trying to work out why it happens. With the same tools that cause it to happen in the first place. Right? It makes no sense. You can't dig your way out of a hole by digging another hole. All that happens is you get deeper in. So it's like whatever our stories are, right? So we look at our idea of what I think my identity is comprised of. My identity about myself is comprised of stories. These thoughts, strings of thoughts that I put together that comprise who I think I am. All of them are false. All of them are not who I am. I'm the Christ. I'm a divine being, dreaming that I'm a body, undergoing all sorts of traumatic, or sometimes I consider not traumatic experiences. But even the ones I consider not traumatic are only at the behest of the ones that are traumatic. Right? I'm still caught in the arena of everything where that trauma occurs. It's still what I call my physical life. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. I'm still trapped in this fishbowl and can't get out. It doesn't do any good to try and divide the fishbowl in half, because water, you can't divide water unless you're Moses. That half of the fishbowl, that belongs to me, and you stay on your side of the fishbowl. But no one has ever suffered. That's the whole teaching. No one has ever suffered. Anything to the contrary that you think might contradict that is false. The only way you're ever going to prove it to yourself that it's false is by experiencing your reality. Be still and know that I'm God. That's where you have to meditate, go into the light. Reality waits for you in the light, not out there in the world through countless sessions of therapy or, coming to terms with your past, or, So there are people out there that they're not even satisfied with trying to rectify the past of one life. They go into past life regression to try and find their goddamn trauma. It's like, what the hell? Just drop it. Just stop playing that game. Stop playing the body.
Don't you think this addiction to stories after stories after stories? It's like addiction.
Of course
to
it is. Of course it is.
Tired of this shit.
But it's like, I used to have this book called The Tales of the Arabian Nights, and there was like 101 stories in the book.
Yes. I had that.
Right? It was an incredible book. It doesn't matter what story you read, you're still reading the Tales of the Arabian Nights. Eventually you realize these stories are all fucking boring. You get to like the 30th story, but you feel like you've got to finish the book because there's some kind of challenge there. Like I've got to get through all 101 of these stupid little stories about these Arabian Nights. And it's like the first few are interesting. The first few is like, wow, this is a different culture. These are different people. But you start to realize that every story is the same. There's a good guy and a bad guy and good people. The whole thing. This happens in this one. Just close the book. Just stop reading from the storybook. Right? Let something else happen. Right? Without trying to have any bloody say in what that something else is going to be. Let it be miraculous, because you're learning to become miracle-minded, right? I'm done with my stories, Father. Right? The deeper you connect with the idea that you are done with your stories, the more vigilant you will become for your honesty with that the next time you feel tempted to tell a story or dwell on a story in your thinking. Right? The mind training is to be present. Here I am. In this moment, I'm one with all things. I'm one with the universe, one with my creative source. Now, do I really want any stories to intrude on that? No, but I have to train my mind to stay there. If I don't do that, then the world is going to distract me and I'll be off doing courses in healing. I'll be off doing courses in psychotherapy. And the next thing you know, I'm right back in the world again, pretending that I'm actually accomplishing something in a place that has no reality at all. I'm getting my PhD in, my doctorate in this and my certificates in that. It's like, no, you're not. You're simply distracted from your true purpose. Your purpose is to give up the world. It's to escape from the physical nature of what you think this is in its entirety. You've been called to awaken, and the means have been given you. It's like the only reason that you don't value the means is because you still think there's something else out in the world that you value. I like my sexual trauma story. That's good. I feel validated. I get in a group of other people. They all got sexual trauma stories. And together we can validate our victimhood and our ideas of overcoming our victimhood and becoming triumphant in our healing. And we're free of our story finally. You've never been a prisoner to your story except in your own thinking. Let it go where it is. It's right there. Ready? Done. Don't tell that story again. You're free. You're free now.
We keep perpetuating it. I keep talking about it, right? And then get everything.
Ready? Put your finger on your nose and say that. I keep perpetuating it.
I keep perpetuating.
Right. I keep talking about it. When are you going to let it go? Well, I just have to finish this course. I just have to complete this. Just once I complete this module, whatever it is, it's ridiculous. Come on. It's like snap out of it, Ted used to say. Snap out of it. You're caught in this delusional cycle of thinking that there's something in the world that can validate you. It can't. The only validation you are ever going to get is from your Father in heaven. That's it. Because that's the only validation that's real. You are his son and he loves you. You are the Christ. Now, you don't have to know what the Christ is. You just have to say yes to that. Yes. And now I'm not going to decide what that is. I'm going to let the universe show me. See, Anna knows. She's nodding. She's down. Anna, you're looking good. Your vibration is, you look very like illuminated.
I was just about to say the same thing. She's illuminated, yes.
Yeah, it's like you're driving in the sun or something.
As soon as you say it, it dimmed. There we go.
I know, look at that. I just had to adjust reality a little bit. It's a glow there. Let's all sit in the sun. Oh. Anyway, that's good. Is that all good with you, Bernadette?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yes. Thank you so much.
Good. That's been sitting on my mind for a bit. And the funny thing you said, how it feels heavy, right? It's like the depravity of, let's say, the dark side of human sexual tendencies, or the corrupt side, maybe, right? So Jesus talks about in the Course homosexuality, right, as being a corruption of the natural order or something. He doesn't see it as anything right or wrong. It's like it's not good or bad or anything. It's just simply more shit to be corrected, like literally more stuff to be corrected. If you're a person whose whole identity, let's say, cycles around that idea of being homosexual or lesbian or whatever, the idea of correction then is going to be unwelcome because you've convinced yourself that there's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with it in the idea of it being part and parcel of the potential to experience whatever it is you want to experience in denial. But if your purpose is salvation, because it centers around the use of the body, right, it has to undergo the process of healing, because the only use of the body is to carry the message of salvation to your brothers. That's the only valid use of the physical form of the physical body that you should be focused on. Everything else, going to work, getting a job, paying your bills, that comes and goes. That's just normal stuff, right? But it's the personal attachment to the stories that embody that, right, that needs healing. Because it doesn't matter what job you have. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter any of those stuff, right? It doesn't matter whether you're homosexual, bisexual. I don't even know what all the sexuals are. There's so many these days, but you know, it doesn't matter any of those things. All of them come under the banner of healing, because they're all temporal identity based. They're all based in the physical identity. I'm a being that experiences myself as or identifies as this, that, or the other. And in each of those aspects, all that is being attempted there is the attempt to get further away from the truth, to dig a deeper hole, not to get out of the hole, right? So one of the greatest things, and Gina explained this to me beautifully, and I hope I can do it justice, but sometimes the easiest way to get out of a hole is to go further in, right? But not further in with the idea of going crazy or getting stuck there or whatever, but think of it like a spring being compressed, where you can only take so much, right? So when you said to me the energy of this is heavy, I would say to you, great, stay in that heavy energy, see how deep it goes and compress that spring, because when you get to the maximum compression, it's going to boing and it's going to bounce you back out and you'll be out of that entirely. But you have to reach rock bottom sometimes if your honesty for the miracle is lacking, right? Sometimes a person can just look at the situation and say to themselves like, oh shit, I see where this is headed. I need a miracle. And some people is going to be looking at that same situation and go, I see where this is headed, but maybe I can handle a bit more. Right? Maybe it was like somebody sent me a video once of this guy with two penises, you know, and they were one above the other, and there was apparently, and they were both big penises. They were huge, right? And they both worked and they both ejaculated and the whole thing. And there was only this one woman apparently that he'd ever met that would accommodate him properly or in a way that he liked, you know, because she would take it in both holes at the same time, as you would have to. But the reaction that video brought up amongst people when I was teaching about that video and stuff, it was so mixed. There was people that was so intrigued they wanted to see the video, and there was other people. Oh man, I don't want to see that, you know, like, you know, but it depends on where you're at in your mind with it. Are you ready to let go of it? You know,
I think I'm ready to let go of it, but I don't know.
You do know. The idea that you don't know.
I don't.
The idea I don't know is simply I'm not done with it yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So you have to go deeper in. Because when you're done with it, you'll pray, you'll ask for a miracle. I'm done with this. I'm done with sex. I'm done with the physical. And that doesn't mean you're never going to have sex again, but it means that the corruption of the miracle impulse isn't going to be something that you continually desire or want or become addicted to. You know? And that's going to bring up a whole flurry of things. What about my partner? What about my my lusts and my passions and my whatever it is, you know? It cannot not bring all that up, right? But it brings it all up for healing, the same as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
To remember, all right, what is my purpose? Is it salvation or is it the world? What am I about here, actually? It's where it gets really real, you know? And you've got to decide, am I walking with Jesus out into the desert to join him in that circle, or am I just watching him go? That's where it gets real. And your mind will even now be trying to find a distraction from that confrontation. Even now, in the background here, you're going to be looking for a way around it. Right? Because that's the background programming of the human mind. That's why you have to learn to be miracle-minded. You've only got the miracle. That's it. There's nothing else. You've got the miracle at your disposal. That's it. Everything else is a step on the ladder out of hell, out of purgatory, out of the world, out of the cycle of reincarnation from coming back here to do this again. The only choice you have is when you want to do it. That's it. When am I done with this? In this life or the next life? And it's like, let that be all the heaviness that there is. Because that is all the heaviness there is. That is the whole heaviness, making that decision. But once you made it, then it's like 1,000 planets have been lifted off your back. 1,000 lifetimes have been released from your, you know, from your karmic debt. It's like, holy cow, I was so afraid of making that decision. But now that I've made it, I'm free of the fear of making the decision. And I'm living.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one, the way you said it.
Right. And no one can do that but you. So, you know, but I will tell you this, that the sexual one, when you get right down there to the sexual one, it's pretty much the worst one. It's pretty much like if you're looking at those sort of heavy, deep ideas, it's like that sort of thing is like the worst or the most profound, let's say, for most people. Having to go off to war and pick up a rifle would probably be another one, you know, and like that would be just, it would take you to that same depth, right? For me, I sort of laugh at myself because I've, over the last probably, I don't know, it kind of has been creeping because for quite a few years, I've been looking at the idea that I'm done with sex, done with the physical nature of pleasure and that sort of thing. And time again, I've proven to myself that I'm actually lying about that, right? That there's still some kind of hope for something. And now in the last year or two, especially since my marriage fell apart because of it, I can't find it in my mind where there is any kind of reasonable idea of why I would even want to be a part of that situation, right? And the funny thing is, I had this funny little fear come up a while ago. It'd be like, that'd be right. I'll probably just transcend that. And then my perfect partner will walk through the front door one day, you know, and be like, you know, like, damn, bad timing, you know, like, but anyway, it's still that hope, you know, it's still that funny little hope for something out in the world that might finally fulfill me. It's like, nah, you got to let go of that hope. It's never going to fulfill me. Never. Doesn't matter how good the sex is, how bad the sex is. And, you know, there's that saying, there's no such thing as bad sex. It's like, well, that's true because it all serves a purpose, whether it's good, bad, whether you like it, don't like it. It all maintains separation. It all maintains the identity of that I'm a body. And it's like, it's not about being Mother Teresa. I mean, it may take you the rest of your life to finally transcend that desire to corrupt those miracle impulses in that way. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. It's like some people have to climb a mountain or go into the desert to find some honesty for that kind of prayerfulness, like whatever it takes. It's like, man, you got to get to the bottom. Whatever that thing is you're doing that's feeling heavy, it's taking you to the bottom. Just focus on getting to the bottom and not the particulars of how it is you're getting there. Think of it like a cave, and you're going down as far as that cave goes, and you're discovering new chambers and new passageways and new tunnels, and it's getting heavier, and you're getting further from the surface, and the anxiety is getting more, and the depth of it's getting more. But at any single moment, you can stop and go, I'm done with this. But you can't, like, no one can be told. You have to kind of make that decision for yourself. Isn't that right, Tina? Collector of obscure T-shirts. And my daughter has a T-shirt.
Not so obscure. What's
well,
that?
it's obscure. It's obscure to me. My daughter has a T-shirt of what's his name? Not 50 Cents. The other guy.
Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg's on it, but it's just, there's two rappers. The Snoop Dogg.
Must be LA rappers. Tupac.
Something. Tupac, that's it. Yeah, Tupac.
Yeah.
And we our shopping center, big by your standards. It's like there's probably 100 stores in our. Is that it? West Side.
West Side.
That sounds so authentic when you do it.
I'm from the West Side.
We had to go. Yeah. We had to go to every store to find this particular shirt, and we couldn't find it. And then the other day, she sent me a picture of herself wearing this. She'd found it somewhere down there. It's like purple and white and whatever.
For the Lakers.
She's at that stage where it's got to be the Air Jordans and the right shirt, and
you know what?
She does. I know. She's 14. That's what they go through.
Well, you know what, Dave? You're talking about this stuff with Bernadette. I'm gonna just hop in real quick.
Go for it.
Because you mentioned Jordans. So I'm going through some stuff now. It's the same thing that I'm always going through, this competition and comparison thing, which this group.
Oh yeah, that's your thing.
Today. You know what I mean? That's my thing. That's my thing.
Yeah.
So when all of this ended, you know what I mean? Like I felt like my head got cut off. So all of my stuff, yes, Father, yes. All of my stuff came up, and I knew that I could not any longer project it out. You know what I mean? I didn't have you to project it out. So I had to finally heal it and or offer it up, like just be really, really honest. So I went to the bottom of all of that stuff, and it was, I don't know.
Good.
But you're talking about Jordans. So something happened, right? So this was not my thing. All of a sudden, my job becomes ridiculous, and I could give two fucks about my gig. I don't care. I'm horrible at it. I don't care. And that thing doesn't scare me. But there were massive.
That's why you're there.
Yeah, I am. And there were these massive layoffs. That stuff doesn't scare me. I've already been through not having any money. That doesn't scare me. There were massive layoffs. All of a sudden, I become exalted at my job. Like, I'm good at my job. And there's this big competition. It's March Madness here in the States. It's a big thing. We're having March Madness at my job. So now there's this offer for this competition, and like crazy competition. People are going nuts. I have no desire for any of these prizes except for the Jordans. I wanted the Jordans. That was the only thing that I sort of wanted. But I didn't win the Jordans. But there's the prize is to be able to go to the end of this March Madness. There's this big celebrity basketball game, blah, 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 blah. That's the prize. I don't care, but I don't want to lose. So I'm going crazy in this competition. I don't want to win anything, but I don't want to be a loser. And so I'm looking at this, and people are working like 70 hours a week. I could barely work 30 hours a week, but all of a sudden, all of this is gone, and I have time now. I'm killing myself. And the words came out of my mouth, this is going to kill me. But I knew it's the same package. It's that competition, comparison. It's the same package. So I was like, I'm just going to go full on into this because I've been trying to manage my behavior. I'm a spiritual person, and I will not compete. But it's like, that's not what I need to heal, like manage my behavior. What I need to heal is this fucking belief in competition, one side or the other side. So I don't know, Dave, if you got anything to say about that. And even in this conversation today, I'm like, fuck. Oh, wait a minute. One more thing with the stories. That has been a thing with me and you. And I feel like I've been projecting this onto you, but I just came to this last night. Feels like every time I open my mouth, you do this to me. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. Hush, don't tell your story. Yes, don't tell your story. And I was kind of looking at that like every time I tell my story, I'm really just self-referencing. I'm building myself back up. I'm like keeping it there. I'm never allowing the whole thing to fucking drop because I got a story that I'm going to be able to tell, and I think I'm going to be able to inspire people and blah, blah, blah. And every time you would do that, it would cut me off, but it would drive me crazy because I'm looking around the room and I go, everybody else tells their story. You know what I'm saying? And you let them tell their story. So it's this whole thing. And last night it was like, fuck. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave, because there is this rebuilding constantly of Tina, and I'm just so fucking sick of Tina. The person is the fucking problem.
Right.
I'm just so sick of Tina, and
We're
I
sick
want
of
to be
it
mad
too.
about it, but it's like, oh my God, it's like you just every single time. And I know it just looks like that to me because there's this filter that's in front of everything that makes it look that way. But now I'm seeing like, oh my God, that's it. Fuck. So I don't even want to really talk anymore about it, but I want to just ask the question about all I feel to do because I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. I've been living with, I don't know what anything means, including fucking this. So I don't know
Good.
how to respond. And I
Good.
won't respond based on my past learning. Let something new happen. So just fucking doing shit I don't even do, Dave. I want to work 30, I don't want to work at all. At all. And I'm working like, fuck. Because I don't want to lose. Because I don't want to lose. And I know what I don't want to lose is this. You know what I mean? But I don't know how else. I can't. I'm not the one that can do this. And the words came out of my mouth. It's gonna kill me. This is gonna kill me.
I like Anna's stories. When Anna tells stories, they're awesome. Because she
There
never
it is. You Dave. Hey, Dave.
Anna never tells the story.
I never tell the story. I just cry.
Yeah, she just goes into it. She goes into it. She doesn't validate it with all that backdrop. Perfect. We're each of us is so individual, Tina. We're all like, you know, a diamond. Each one of us is a facet. And when you look through one facet, you see the flaw from a different angle, the flaw in the middle, right? But it's the flaw in the diamond that makes it unique. Can you hear that? You're looking at the flaw from a different angle than me, than Bernadette, and than Anna. All you need to do is accept that what you're looking at is perfect. It's that package, that element of denial that your salvation is revolving around right now. The idea, I don't want to lose, as if you can lose. As if you can. But you perpetuate the idea of losing. This is going to kill me. That's going to kill me. It'll be something always going to kill you. Right? You'll perpetuate that again and again and again until finally you accept the perfection of the situation. It's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with being competitive.
That's what I think. That's what I feel.
Right. So be competitive.
That's what I am asking you. It's like, I
Right.
mean, and I don't even
Eventually
really
it'll
need to
be
ask
like,
you. It's like,
it's the same as Bernadette, right? Be sexual. You'll be that until finally you realize how ridiculous it is. Until finally you're done with it, and then you'll just stop. Right? You'll get to the bottom. It's either that or you're going to ask for a miracle. You're going to ask for help. And that'll come from your heart. It's like there's a lot of energy for both of you guys. There's a lot of energy around those two particular aspects, two particular facets of the diamond you're looking at, which is the diamond of self. Let's call it that. You know, use it. You've already seen it. You've seen it from one side, and now you're seeing it from the other side.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But you're still looking at the same thing.
Exactly. So it's like the belief. I just want to let go of this belief in that. It's a possibility. You know what I mean?
Right. It's not the belief in losing or competition or whatever that you're trying to let go of. You're trying to let go of the idea of separation that's represented.
Exactly. And that's what how I'm using.
Right.
That's what I'm using this for. Exactly. That's
Good.
what I'm. Yeah.
Good. So do that.
So okay, that's what I'm doing. Just wanted to
Good.
tell a story.
Stop telling your story and get on with it.
Everybody else tells a story.
Work 70 hours a week, you lazy bitch. Get in
No.
there and be the best of those crazy people looking for shoes and stuff. Working for shoes. What the fuck?
Fucking ridiculous.
I know. They come from China out of a factory. The Chinese people or a Phare or something, slave labor.
Oh.
You know, I saw a video the other day of people making socks in a factory in like Uruguay or somewhere or whatever, some like poor country. And there was 3 or 4 women who spend their whole day, they're like this. They were dead. They're picking up socks that come down this big conveyor, these little white gym socks, and they're not even talking to each other. They've got nothing left to talk about. They're just, you know, a robot could do that. And they're putting these socks on this little frame where the frame then puts them in a plastic bag and they get sealed up or something, right? But they're so dead, they don't even realize they're done with it. They've totally surrendered to the world, right? You've got salvation. You're totally done with working. You don't want to work. You don't want to be any part of this world in some regard. But you're identifying that with your job rather than the world in its entirety. Right? Right. Well, maybe you're not. But like,
no, I got it. I got
right,
it.
exactly.
And this is what's on offer right now. This is what's being provided for my healing right now. So I'm gonna full on go into it. I mean, that's just, I don't know.
Ready? You need no healing.
Mm-hmm.
You've already done it.
Mm-hmm.
You're being tempted to believe that you haven't done it. You're being tempted to believe that perhaps there's something in you regarding that still needs healing. There isn't. You've already offered it to the Holy Spirit. Now have faith, trust in that, and let something occur. You still want to heal. You're already healed, Tina. It's done. You're healed and whole and perfect as God created. As above, so below. There's nothing in you needs healing. There's only the acceptance of your true state that needs to occur right here and now. Say to me, I'm perfect.
I'm perfect.
Now stay there. I'm perfect. All those stories.
Perfect.
Right. Mm-hmm. All the stories you tell yourself, stop giving them value. They're like ghosts of the past, ghosts of an unhealed version of yourself that you still look at and go, oh, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. It's like Bernadette. She's got nothing left as far as sex goes. How many more Kama Sutra books has people got to write before you can realize there's nothing in it? You know, how many more positions, how many more jobs, how many more pairs of Air Jordans? It's like, no, I'm done. I'm the Christ. For fuck's sake, let me stand up as that. I am the Christ. It's like Anna. She's the Christ. She doesn't have a story about it. She's just out there delivering packages and doing her thing. It's like, I love that book. The Illusions, the Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. That's you, Tina. The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. You still think there's a job there for you somewhere that involves participating in the world, including in the idea of healing. At some point, you've got to stand up and say, hey, I am the Christ. Fuck this. I'm perfect. Right? And let that be your bottom line. That idea of competition, on one hand, you just told me that you just saw it. In the moment that you see it, it's done. Denial is denial because you can't see it. You don't know it about yourself. You know it about yourself. Right? You can't be insane and then see your insanity and continue to be insane. It's only an insane person that doesn't know they're insane. In the moment you know that you're insane, you cease to be that. It's like a switch has been flipped in your mind. You want to run back around the corner and make sure that you actually flip the switch. Just remember that you flipped the switch. You've done it. Stop going back to check.
Yeah, but how does the temptation come to constantly wanting to reflect back, like a glitch?
It's a habit. You know? It's a bad habit.
A fucking glitch, I know.
Right. It's a bad habit. It doesn't mean there's anything there that still needs healing. Right? It just means that you're still tempted. There's still this idea you don't completely trust yourself. You don't completely trust your father. It's like, all right, I've got to look at that. I've been looking at this situation. It's been your whole situation all along. This whole process of healing has been the healing of that situation. I'm telling you, it's done.
So it's like the development of trust, all those steps through, right?
No. It's done, Bernadette. Stop trying to find a story to validate how it's done. Simply accept it's done. Right?
It's the same way as we were there when Christ was.
Right.
Christ.
But
why can't we accept it?
The addictive mind can also be addicted to the process of healing. Right? I know several people.
Everything is a concept. I'm gonna get just constantly get addicted to everything. Holy fuck.
Exactly. Salvation is freedom from concepts. Tina, you don't need another concept. You're healed. Walk and chew gum. That's what Ted used to say. You got to chew gum. You're done. You're healed. Salvation has found you. You've said yes. Your part in it now is simply to live in the joy and the light and the happiness of the acceptance of the fact that I said fucking yes to Jesus, right? That also includes a vigilance for any place where you think that the healing has something to do with you. It doesn't. All it requires is your willingness that it occur. Yes, I'm willing that it occur. Thank you. That's what faith is. All these workshops and seminars about how to heal, what to heal, that's all crap.
Well, you all want a participant, isn't it? It's once a participant.
Right. But you've got to go through that. You've got to go through that ugly rite of passage, let's call it. It's an ugly rite of passage that we call healing or salvation. Right? You're already on the other side of it. All I'm doing is representing how long do you want to take for you to realize you're on the side of it. I'm just telling you again and again and again, you're perfect, you're whole. You're the creation of God. This world can't tell you what you are. Stop looking at the stories out there about the world and about everything else that seems to be going on. Abuse, competition, all of these things, and just see how that all makes you feel, actually. You don't have to break the cycle of what it is you think you're involved in. You have to get to the bottom of how that makes you feel. It's like, oh, that's my salvation actually calling me. It's a journey into fear. It's a journey into that dark place. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck in the world chasing my tail. Bad habit here, bad habit there, something not spiritual here, everything is spiritual. Everything is mine. Spirit is mine, inclusive of the particulars of whatever it is you think that your process of coming to an awakening is. You're already awake somewhere in your mind. How everything in the world makes you feel is going to lead you to that. Right? It's either going to be the long way by doing it in form, or it's going to be the short way by being miraculous. I need a miracle here. I see that I have a dark spot. I see that I have this dark energy. The temptation is the ego always wants to associate with it as something outside. Oh, it's competitiveness. Oh, it's sexuality. Oh, it's no, it isn't. It's denial across the board. It's just something that's being cleaned up under the auspices of healing. That cleaning up is the job of the Holy Spirit, not of you. Your job is simply to allow it to happen. Be still and let it happen. Let something else occur. Feel. Feel how it makes you feel. Don't try to find justification for why you feel that way. We're deliberately looking for our darkness. The competitiveness, the sexuality, it's just the package in which the gift is wrapped. It's what the gift contains that is important. It contains a whole bunch of dark shit. I'm telling myself I don't want to look at it, but actually that's my journey to go into the fear, to look at it honestly and continue to give it to the Holy Spirit for my healing. Right? Because the place where I think I'm unhealed and the place where I'm actually coming to an acceptance that I am healed are coming together. And when they meet, one's going to cancel out the other. Matter and antimatter, boom. And the reality is going to remain and the illusion is going to disappear. That's a good teaching. It's the last teaching you'll ever need. I just got to put my air conditioning on. It's getting a little warm. I'm going to turn the hat off, actually. Better idea. Everything always works for the greater good. That place of total surrender, that place of accepting that everything works for the greater good includes this. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. The fact that you feel is what we're looking for. It's good, isn't it, Tina? See, now you're laughing. Dunce hat. Put the dunce hat on again. Ready? Let's put our dunce hats, everybody. It's so easy to get your pantyhose in a twist. I'll give you this whole thing in one simple teaching. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. Bernadette, don't judge the form, apply the principle. Anna, don't judge the form, apply the principle. There is no world. Bernadette, go into the sex toy shop and stand and look at the sex toys. No, seriously, this will be fun. You'll enjoy this. Go and look at all those sex toys and what they represent in you. Let it bring up that dark, whatever, you know. Same thing. Tina, go into the shoe shop and look at the Jordans. Let it bring all that, whatever that is, let it bring it up. Not as an idea of validating the form, but as an idea of being able to apply the principle. Because it's going to happen whether you like it or not. You don't have a choice in what the world throws at you. You may as well be proactive, be out there and become a bit of an adventurer. It's like, fuck it, I'm going to make a bold experiment with this. I'm going to put myself in the firing line. I'm going to deliberately put myself into an uncomfortable whatever, you know, knowing that I'm whole and perfect and God goes with me everywhere I go. I want to see that I am healed. I want to see that when Dave tells me I'm perfect and I'm whole, I'm the creation of God, I want to see that that's true for me. Why the hell do I have to sit back in my armchair and wait for it? Let's go be about it now. In the world, but not of it. You'll soon see. You'll soon see how much darkness is still left in there. Just remember, don't try to justify what the darkness is based on the form that it's packaged in. It's denial of God. Doesn't matter how it's presented. Denial of God, denial of my truth, denial of myself. The world's going to package it up in all sorts of different ways. Competition, sex. Don't get caught looking at the packaging. Get to the what's inside, how it makes me feel. I feel fucked, but I'm whole and perfect. Now I'm going to go into that. I don't have to fix my competitive nature. There's nothing wrong with that. That's like, what the hell? That's what the whole world is. Why would I expect to be any different? Right? But let me get to what that represents. Let me heal that. Or let me look at that differently. Let me see it as being useful rather than being as something that seems to be a thorn in my side. This is a way to see the world completely differently. Your awakening proceeds along lines that you can understand and you can interact with and you can relate to, but you have to remember your purpose. Otherwise, you're going to get your knickers in a twist and you'll be right back again to square one, looking at things that you think you've got to fix or solve. Other people, you, whatever. There is no world. This is a dream. You're simply awakening from a dream. There's nothing going on here. It's like Aurobindo used to say to his students, make bold experiments with your spirituality. You know, put yourself in danger. Put yourself in the places that you fear to go. Like you've got nothing to lose. It's like make experiments. You can see what your resistance is. You can see where you've got energy hidden away there, dark energy. It's like go into it. Force the hand, force the door open. Push with all you got. Open the damn door and let the light in. The next time we meet up here, I'll expect you to be wearing Air Jordans, Tina.
Dave, I'm beating everybody. I'm beating everybody. It's ridiculous. I'm beating
Good.
everyone. So
Ready? No, you're not. You're not beating anyone.
I know, and that's what when I was in competition with this guy, and I was like, he's not even there. Like what am I?
Right,
There's nothing. There's
exactly.
nothing happening. There's nothing happening, and it was just that felt really cool. And then I just
Good.
wanted to hear. Yeah, I just wanted to hear. I wanted to tell.
You just want to tell the story.
I wanted to tell the story. Yeah, I wanted to tell the story. Yeah, so I can keep making this a
Air
thing.
Jordans
Yeah.
for you. I don't know what for Bernadette. Sex toys. I don't know. They have, this is a funny thing, just aside. They have this website called Real Dolls. Have you seen that? Does that ever come up?
Is it when they're making like real dolls that look
They
like human
look
beings?
like real people
Yes.
that you can ban, like they're sex dolls.
Yeah, for guys,
My
lonely
coworker,
guys.
right? My coworker Janita wants me to get one because she thinks I'm a lonely guy because I'm interested in sex or anything. She said, and she showed me the website, and I'm like, apart from the fact that I don't want them, it's like, holy cow, they're really cool. They're coming a long way. All they need to do is be able to put consciousness in there, and it's going to be us.
Oh God.
We're real dolls. Like, I look at that website and I'm like, it's all virtual, it's all make-believe, but the idea of perfecting something to be what is considered to be real or as close to real as possible, it's funny stuff. It's like one day in 100 years, someone's going to be looking on that website and there's going to be a picture of us, as real. You'll be able to order and be like, those guys look pretty realistic.
Oh, have you seen? You should see. What's that on Netflix? Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me!
Future
Help
Man.
me!
Future Man. You got to watch Future Man.
No. Okay, you talk about that for a
Have
second
you
while I
seen the
remember.
size of that guy's penis in Future Man?
Oh, you're talking about, but that's on HBO, The Westworld.
Black
Is that what
Mirror,
you're talking about?
Black Mirror,
Black Mirror.
Black
Yeah, that was
Mirror.
good too. Yeah.
The episode with Black Mirror with when she lost her boyfriend and She ordered a
Mhm.
new one, a
I
new
haven't
partner.
seen Black Mirror.
Oh, you gotta. I sent you a couple. You gotta watch that series. So
Yep.
anyway, I
Have
sent
you
you a
ever
couple
watched
already.
Westworld before?
Anna, what's going on there? These guys are just talking shit.
I was gonna say I don't know. I never watched TV, so I don't know what this Black Mirror is, but I don't
It's
know.
really cool. It's got. I mean, it's
What's
got
happening
really
with
cool
you, Anna?
teachings.
I need to mute Tina. She loves it when I do that.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
I'm talking to Anna here.
Oh, I know, but you talked to Bernadette for a fucking hour and a half, and I talked for 5 minutes, and you put your finger up. So there.
I haven't talked to Anna at all. You got 5 minutes. Just go and get your Air Jordans. You'll be happy then.
Jordan.
She's gone to the shoe shop.
Oh,
I bet she has Air Jordans already. Probably like 10 pairs. Every year a new one comes out and Tina's like, ooh, Mr. Bean. Oh. That'd be a good movie. Anna, what's going on? You look amazing. Look at you.
yeah.
What?
Things have been good. The only thing I can say that's been really coming out hard and really strong has been a lot of anger coming up.
Great.
Yeah. It'll come like really hard and really fast.
Good. Fear of
Yeah.
redemption. Tina, read that for her. Where's that? You've got a book. I know you have. Look, right there. The fear of redemption, the first 2 lines. Yeah, look at these girls. Now they're getting it. Fuck you. Took them a while, but they're finally catching on.
What chapter is that?
The fear of redemption. It's in the blue book.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what
But
chapter it is.
All right, give me a
I'll
second.
find it anyway. That's
I
good.
think it's
You
highlighted.
have to. You got to look at that anger, Anna.
Yeah.
Look at it, right? And you got to realize the full extent of it. It's a good thing. I know you're not going to like it. Nobody likes it, but it's like you must have enough mind training now where you can allow that to come up and not react to it in a way where you want to avoid it. You know, it's like that anger will kill, right? When you know the story of when my anger came up and
Yeah.
so poor old Heaven, I knocked her off her feet, the poor girl. But and she's passed from the realm now, so we won't talk funny about her. But you know, so like really pray about it, about that anger. I mean, it's healing waiting to happen. It's like same thing with that. Don't try to justify why you feel angry or what the anger. Just stay in the pure raw emotionality of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get the tendency will want to be to try and heal the particulars of what's causing you to feel anger. It's like, no, nothing's causing me to feel anger. I have anger within me, right? Nothing's.
Yeah, I
right.
can feel it kind of almost like as like a chaos, like a chaotic energy under my heart
Good.
space. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. That's where it goes. And when it comes out, this is where the mind training is important. When it comes out, like a lot of people say, oh, I like to vent my anger. It's like, don't vent it, don't waste it, don't blurp it out there into the physical world because it just dissipates it, right? You need that as a raw energy for that prayer. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is going on, it's like, Holy Spirit, be with me. I want this anger done. I'm willing to look at it with you. I'm willing for it to be released and all of that stuff. And then you'll never be angry ever again. When that's done,
Yeah.
you'll never feel anger again. Right? Since that day where I knocked over poor old Heaven, I've never been angry about anything. And theoretically, I mean, if the world was real, there's a lot of shit I could probably be tempted to want to be angry about, but I don't feel it, can't find it. It's done. So, but that's good that it's coming up.
Oh yeah.
You'll find now that it probably, now that you're aware of it, you'll become more obvious of it and you'll start to realize the little telltale signs when it begins to show and all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, that prayer, it's
It's like the stage is set.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. It's going to happen. It's like when you shake up a bottle of champagne and, you know, you want to push
Yeah.
just a little bit, see if it's going to go, boop, you know, and it's like there's that moment there. So, but you're probably just in the shaking up period and not really ready to push the cork yet. But, you know, that's good, Tina. Stay there. That's good. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath, slowly. Think about your Father. Think about God. Breathe it in. Breathe the thought in. Feel it. What are you feeling? Tell me, what are you feeling?
Space.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, right there. Good. Breathe. Just breathe. That's Think about your Father. Focus. Focus. Breathe. Take that breathing right into your body. Every cell. Feel it. Yes. Good.
Oh, wow.
Right. Now stay there. That's a nice place to be. If we're in India, I would tell you that your mudras have been activated. So, which is nice. Oh, good. That's good. Good, good, good. There's a whole worthiness. There's a whole. This goes so much beyond the body. This goes so much beyond the identity. It's like that's just occurring in you now. That's not of the world. And that's partly because of the effort and the devotion and the dedication you put in, and partly because of the miraculous nature of your mind as it begins to, you know, to open to its truth. Stay in that. Air Jordans or no Air Jordans. Doesn't matter. Anna, that's good. Prayer, 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 prayer. Heal my mind of this. Right? My prayer was, I mean, be specific if you want to. My prayer was specific in that I knew my anger was coming up. I knew I was going to have to look at it. I couldn't avoid it. It was fucking obvious. I couldn't kid myself about it anymore. And I knew the potential of it to do harm, to kill, to start a war, to do anything. Right? And so the specificity of my prayer was for me to be able to find myself in a place where I wasn't going to be volatile when it came out. It still kind of was, but, you know, like, it was probably the least volatile as it could be given the circumstances. And even that volatility still brought about a situation of healing and coming together afterwards. So there was kind of that as well, you know, but I think the specificity of my prayer was more for my own trust issues with regard to the Holy Spirit's activity in me rather than his capacity to guide me to a place where I could go through that, you know, perfectly. It's hard work when you're dealing with something you can't see and can't touch. You're dealing with something that's on the other side of a veil, in another dimension, in another continuum entirely. You kind of have to learn to think of yourself in regards to being a cosmic traveler. I'm from another dimension. I'm from another plane of existence entirely, and they're trying to get my attention. They're trying to get me home. It helps to think of it that way, because your mind then begins to operate in non-dimensional ways where you have no choice but to let go, because you don't remember what's outside. You don't remember what's beyond. You're learning to trust that those who have ascended already, those who are in charge of the atonement, have your best interests at heart. And when the moment's right, they're going to poke you with a red hot stick if necessary to get the response that's required for your awakening. And in Eastern traditions, that actually occurs. There is this kind of internal burning that goes on in many cases with some yogic practices, which can get ridiculous as far as the temperature of that, how that feels and everything. I generally find that the Holy Spirit, through the course and through our practices, is a lot more gentle. Unless your name is Heaven and you have some guy knock you off your feet. That's funny. We should do a skit of that somehow. It's like, what the fuck? Who thinks this shit up? Who thinks that it's going to look like? You know?
You play Heaven, though.
I know. It's like, don't judge the form, apply the principle. But I mean, if you did judge, that's pretty weird. It's like, what the hell? We used to have this guy called Scotty Dave. There was like 5 Daves at the healing center, and there was Scotty Dave. He was Scottish, and he's a stout sort of fella like this, very solidly built, and he had a bald head. He was only young, had a bald head, and there was another guy there, Gordon, just telling a story now, but another guy, Gordon, who, when lunch was served, Ted had finally stopped talking and we'd stopped doing the meditation, which sometimes would be hours. You know, lunch would be 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There would be a queue into the lunchroom. Everyone would get a plate and there'd be pasta or whatever. And I remember standing about 2 people behind Dave and Gordon. And Gordon was behind Dave. And I don't know if you ever seen Benny Hill, where Benny Hill pats the old man on the head, like, and pats his bald spot, right? Gordon started doing that to Dave, just as a, you know, like, come on, man, loosen up. Because Dave's very staunch and he's Scottish, you know, like, never see a smile on his face much, or never see him laughing and joining in particularly. But I remember Dave turned around and said to Gordon, "Don't do that again, man, or I'll hit you." You know, this is in a spiritual healing center where there's like 100 people practicing meditation and love and whatever. Anyway, Gordon did it again, couldn't help himself. And Dave turned around and punched him so hard it broke all his cheekbones out here and knocked him to the ground, right? And he had to go and have medical attention and the whole thing. Anyway, who would have written that into salvation, right? But it's like, when you talk about spiritual healing, everybody always thinks it's going to be nice and lovely and wonderful. And like, isn't this a place where we all come to just love each other? It's like, fuck no. This is a place where we just come to be our true, authentic self, regardless of what that might be in any given moment. You know, and we had a big healing session. I think the next day I did it. I facilitated the healing session for it. There was like, everybody turned up, right? Because it went like wildfire what had happened. It was unprecedented in the whole history of the healing center for that to have occurred. Everybody turned up. There was like 120 people in the healing room. And we did this big spiral. Everybody held hands. And Gordon wasn't there. Yeah, Gordon wasn't there because he was injured. Dave was there. Dave was in the middle. And we spiraled around him in a tight spiral of love, right? And I was the last one. And everybody channeled their love into Dave, you know, just like totally just focused on him and let him be the subject of giving and the whole thing like that. And there was an incredible moment in that, you know. So it's like something in him shifted and changed. and he got to see himself as other people see him for a moment, you know, through everybody else's eyes, as being worthy of love, you know. And it was beautiful. And he even came up, he came up and expressed himself afterwards, and I think maybe the day after, that like how he had not felt worthy because, you know, like I said to him on the day, I said something like, because he stormed out of the healing center after he punched Gordon, and I chased after him, you know, like, come on, dude, it's like, what have you got to run away from? You know, you're not the one laying there with a busted face like that. And it stopped him in his tracks. He realized that he was true, that was true, you know. And but the whole situation was unpredictable, unplanned, whatever, you know. So Anna, don't expect that however that shows up, right, the form of it, that it won't be perfect, even though it might seem to be in a volatile setting. I mean, I'm sure you're not going to punch anybody's face in, but, or maybe not, I don't know, you know. But me and Heaven and Gordon and Dave, we've already done that part for you. You know, you don't have to do that. You can learn from our lessons and you know, take a load off. When your anger comes out, hopefully it'll just be this little like, is that it? But it's like a shadow, you know, Plato's cave. It's like the thing that casts the big shadow is actually only very small. It's actually almost nothing. But with the fire, it looks so big and daunting, and we fear it. And like when it comes up, it's like, oh my God, I'm so angry. It's like, but what is that anger really? Where is it in you that it's only this big in its nothingness? It's just a belief. Right. So read that section, read the Fear of Redemption. It's in the blue book. I don't know where it is in the sparkly book or the white book or whatever. You want to read
I'll
it,
find
Tina?
it.
Yeah. I have
Tina's
it.
got it.
I have it.
Tina's got
The
it.
whole
She's gonna
thing?
read it out.
The whole thing?
Just
right.
the first couple of lines there.
Okay, got it. All right, the fear of redemption. Whew. You may wonder why it is so crucial that you look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. You may also think that it would be easy enough for the Holy Spirit to show it to you and to dispel it without the need for you to raise it to awareness yourself. Yet there is one more obstacle you have interposed between yourself and the atonement. We have said that no one will countenance fear if he recognizes it. Yet in your disordered state of mind, you are not afraid of fear. You do not like it, but it is not your desire to attack that really frightens you. You are not seriously disturbed by your hostility. You keep it hidden because you are more afraid of what it covers. You could look even upon the ego's darkest cornerstone without fear if you did not believe that without the ego, you would find within yourself something you fear even more. You are not really afraid of crucifixion. Your real terror is of redemption.
Now, read that every morning, Anna. Read that section every morning until it goes into the deepest core. I know you're feeling that anger. You're feeling that whatever. You can call it hatred, anger, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You're feeling it. Give it a push. Give it a nudge. Right? It's like I was just saying, make bold experiments with it. You haven't been given this course so that you can just read it and not act on it. All right. You've been given this course deliberately to look at the dark stuff so you can bring it up, right? You're a perfect being laboring under a belief of imperfection. Let's look at that, offer it for healing.
Okay.
The situation that shows up, the package of associations that shows up for you to be able to look at that in the best way, in the most useful way. Don't worry about how it shows up. Just stay focused on how you feel with it. Same thing exactly with Bernadette, same thing exactly with Tina, because we're all on the exact same path here. This is a journey into fear.
Yeah.
I'm healing something now, or I'm looking at something now that I'm offering as I go to the Holy Spirit. Right? Exactly like it just said in that thing that Tina just read. You have to look upon it with the Holy Spirit, the spirit of wholeness, the spirit of love, the spirit of purpose. I have a purpose for looking at my anger. I want it done. I want to see that what it is that I truly fear is nothing to be feared at all. Right? The ego has convinced you that it is fearful. It screams at you, don't look there. Because that's where your salvation is. That's where redemption is. At some point in your mind, at some place in your conscious associations in there, you've already done this, because we're looking again at a journey that's already over. It's already written, right? The ending is written. It's certain. The only option we have within the certainty of that and the potential that we seem to find ourselves in looking at that idea is how long we want to take to accept that for ourselves as well. How long do I want to take to accept God's certainty of me? I have free will. How long do I want to take before I surrender that idea of free will and simply stop? Simply be still and let whatever happens need to happen. It's like, all right, let's do it now. There is no world. What am I doing here? There is no world. What am I thinking about? There is no world. What do I think tomorrow's going to bring? There is no world. Everything else is just maybe this, maybe that. What about? What about? Questions, doubt, doubt. There is no world. I'm telling you that. I know you can't hear it, because the only way for you to actually hear it is to experience it for yourself. That experience is the illumination of your mind. In that experience, you'll be able to look back and see that the world is nothing more than a matrix, a figment of your imagination. You're literally trapped in your own mind in this kind of reality that has no reality at all, but which you've convinced is your home, and you're stuck here. You've convinced yourself of it because you've listened to a voice that knows not of your reality. The world cannot tell you who you are. It cannot tell you that you are a sexual person, that you are a competitive person. It cannot tell you that you are an angry person. All of those things are just hallmarks that are being used in your salvation for your own healing. They're things you can recognize and associate with so that you understand within yourself that healing is actually occurring. And stop getting in the way. Stop fucking it up. Stop interfering. Stop putting your own 2 cents worth in. Let it happen. Just like before, Tina, when I said to you, be still for a second. Just let that happen. All right? There's a whole other thing going on in you, Tina, specifically right in this moment, that's coming from out of time. There's a whole, like, if I were to put it this way, that there are divine beings working with you right now, like literally right now while we're talking. In your room, in another dimension, but still in your room, standing right behind you to your left and your right. Let's look at it that way. One with their hand right through your chest. That's actually happening. They're not beings, it's energy. They're not people or things as we imagine them, because that's only the construct of our own mind. But it is the presence of the love of God that is beginning to become active in you. It's doing what it needs to do. And in your mind training, you're learning to allow that to occur without interfering, without going back into the stories. The stories only open you up to the possibility and the potential that the healing is contained in, or the you know, what's in you that needs to be done. You're perfect. You're coming to your own perfection. You're coming to your own recognition and acceptance of the fact that you're perfect. Same thing, Bernadette. You feel it in your chest right now. You can feel it here in your heart space. If you be still, you can get in touch with that and breathe into it. Close your eyes for a second. Feel it. There's a warmth. There's a goodness. If you talk about that as being in part and parcel with the depravity and the darkness of what you feel at the other end of the spectrum, right? You're going to be able to align those two things. You're going to be able to take that whole package of energy and allow it to simply mix together, so that instead of having the black and the white or the yin and the yang, there's no good or bad in either of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, you know the truth already. You feel it in your heart space. That's where it radiates from. We call that love because we don't have another word for it, right? Everything else that seems to be going on in you, bring it to the love. Don't try to bring the love to it, right? All that sexual stuff, all that abuse stuff, all that trauma stuff, all that whatever it is, bring it to the love, bring it to the light. Bring it to where you truly feel at your highest place, right? It's like the Holy Spirit is you. You are the spirit of love. You are the spirit of wholeness. You are spirit. Same thing, Anna, that anger, and you said you can feel it just under your heart. It's trying to come up, right? Symbolically, we feel things in our body, and we have these kind of, let's say, energetic pulses or energetic impulses, energetic feelings. I don't like calling them chakras, because then there tends to be some kind of rigid structure as to how they need to occur or what needs to happen, or these all have. That's all bullshit. It's like you feel something somewhere in your body. Don't give it a name. Don't give it a reference. Simply offer it up. I feel the truth. I feel the stirring of God's strength in me. Where do I feel that? I feel it in my heart. I feel it passionately. Let me take it there. Let me bring everything to my heart. Let me hold it in the bosom of my love in here, and simply allow it to be dissipated. Allow it to vanish like mists before the sun. You know? Hopefully you won't knock anybody over, or it's always going to play out on the physical plane, but it's not occurring on the physical plane. That's what I'm telling you. You got to learn to think outside the box. You got to learn to think in terms of multi-dimensional reality, in terms of billions of years, in terms of timelessness. The little avatar that you think you're in charge of, the little avatar, this bodily association thing that you have here, its little life is like snuffed out like that. It just comes and it goes, and you'll get more if you need them and all these sorts of things. Try not to confuse yourself with it, but allow yourself to use it as the receptor. Allow yourself to use the avatar as your instrument for healing, as your instrument for coming to terms with your perfection. Because that's its only purpose, in truth, is to serve you in your salvation, is to serve you in redemption. That's it. Not to fix the world, not to win shoes, not to heal from sexual trauma, but to heal from the belief that you are separate from God. which contains every other false belief, trauma, and addiction within it. You have one problem and one solution. The problem is, I think I'm separate from God. The solution is, that's impossible because God's everything. Now stay there, stay in that place, and let it be revealed, let it be shown. Don't forget to ask. Ask. Show me, Father. I want to know. Don't let the world catch you up in its distractions. It will always offer you distractions. Another course to do, another job to get, another children to have, another whatever the hell. It doesn't matter. Your path is salvation. Your path is redemption. Stay on the path. Feel. Allow yourself to feel. Stop telling yourself that feeling bad is bad. We're here to feel bad. We're here to feel the darkness. We're here to feel it out, to find it, to seek it out, and free ourselves from it. This is a journey into fear. You are crusaders. Listen, learn, and do. Listen, learn, and do. It's the whole motto for the course. Listen, learn, and do. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and do something to correct it. You'll be guided, as you have been, as you will be. We're in this together. Good. Tina, put your finger here. Put it there. Oh, that finger. That's where you're supposed to. Oh, no, that's your pointing finger. I thought you were doing this one. Put your finger there. Yeah, right, exactly. I knew Bernadette would jump in on that. How did I know? Look, little schoolgirl. Look at her. She's just so predictable. You ready? Close your eyes. Just your fingertip. Just the tip of your finger. Good. Close your eyes. Feel. Take your finger away slowly. Good. Yes. There's only one mind here. There's only one mind. Good. I love you guys. I'm going to go have some breakfast. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Bernadette, take that thing out of your lip. Trust me, you're going to want to take it out because you're not going to like what you don't. Peace.
Love you, Dave. Love you,
you,
sister.
brother.
Love you. Love you. Love
Love
you.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, sisters.